What up, y'all? I know not everyone feels like listening to a 40+ minute poll plans video for the month, so I broke it up to abbreviate my thoughts in a more easily digestible way. I know half of y'all, though, ain't subscribed, so go ahead and do that. Like the video, leave a comment with what you think about the upcoming content and your plans as well. And if you want to see the whole video, I'll be providing a link to that as well. Check that out for sure. Thanks a million, and now let's get into what you're really here for, alright? Xande Lost Chapter. Zell finally stops being a meme here and he gets some really good upgrades, and Xande continues to exist. Zell got the overhaul of a lifetime, so both of his base skills now don't add to the turn count, and his skill 1 is instant turns. His transform skill 1 is now 100% AoE, Jesus, and his transform skill 2 is a triple HP attack. Functionally, Zell can spam his ass off now with his skills. It's kind of crazy. The LD brings it all together. It's an instant turn rate move, right? And it's actually really cool. It pretty much replicates his playstyle in Final Fantasy VIII. Finally, like, they've been trying with this kit for so long, but they finally tied it all together, and it feels so good. He gets a stackable buff, and on this buff, he has Brave and HP damage up for 20% on his 1 and 2 stacks, and on 3 and 4 stacks, he has 30% Brave and HP damage up. So he's building up to just really unleash the nuke. While his dual buff is up, his LD boards add 50% crit damage up and 20% HP damage up. So while those skills are transformed, Zell is doing just insane amounts of damage. So now every time he attacks while this buff is up, he's going to re-break the target. And after he re-breaks the target, he gets a consecutive turn as well. So you can chain his turns together to do some crazy, insane consecutive turn shenanigans. And on the final turn, when he's at 4 stacks, he has to press his LD again, and this launches his last nuke. It's really smooth and really fun to play, honestly. This is truly 0 to hero, and Zell becomes a DPS monster with consecutive turns, re-breaks, turn manipulation, and he's got defense down on his skill 2 as well, so he's helping out the party hit harder and himself. Ugh. And you can choose when to turn manipulate, because you can either do instant turns on a skill 1, or you can do the consecutive things with his re-breaks with his LD, and you choose when it is. And it's very interactive, and there's a lot of decisions to be made. Decision trees, something like that. I don't know the exact terminology, but people like that. It's kind of like how Tidus, you got to make choices, versus Terra, you just press buttons and bosses die. I think he's a really cool character. He also got a ton of hidden stat ups from his LD and his rework, so he's hitting a lot harder as well. He's got the attack hammer plus, and it leans brave hits, which makes perfect sense because he has a million brave hits and he has the power to hit them very easily. So you'll get a lot out of Blue Zell, definitely. His calls are pretty much worthless. His base call is an okay 60% defense down, but you have other calls for that. And he reruns with level 90, where he gets an LD board rework and gets even better along with his level 90 and good stuff along Lude's banner during Noel's burst cycle. Zell is your standard DPS, turn stealer, rebreaker. Take a bunch of turns, do a bunch of damage, abuse BT effects, DPS. He pretty much fits in anywhere. He's got that 1 thunder skill, but that doesn't really matter. Zell can do tons. He scales incredibly well, just buff him, that's it, and he'll be fine. He's flexible, you throw him anywhere. As long as the bosses don't need to get too many turns, Zell can just go nuts. I know Stimpy has shown off a billion videos of Zell just going nuts. Zell got the juice, for real. Again, not a terrible choice. Lufenia Plus doesn't stop him, that's a misconception. If you're like, oh, I need to save for better DPS, they do completely different things. So evaluate why you are or are not interested in Zell, as I always say. The new difficulty curve does not kill him off. Because he's so straightforward, I mean, other than knowing how exactly his LD works with the turn manipulation, he's pretty straightforward. You can fit him into any team, provided you're hitting the orb. Future fights that he could definitely be good in, because he's got range in his kit, he could be good on, Arenea's Lost Chapter. What else? Kane, although there's a bunch of range people recently. Kane's intertwined well. Fran's Chapter, that was a mouthful. Not a mouthful, but hard to say. I don't know why. Good character all around. Weaknesses though, investment costs, because you're not going to see as much power from him if you don't blue him. Obviously you can complete content with him, but at his full potential he does need blue, but that applies to pretty much the entire roster, so that really shouldn't be a thing I should bother saying at this point. Xande is the returning LD, and he's getting LD boards. He didn't get that much. Now his attack does 3 attacks instead of 2, and at base stacks of his overhead, he gets crit damage up by 10, HP damage up by 20, and weakness damage up by 30. It's okay. It doesn't catapult him to any newfound relevance. His damage still kind of sucks, honestly, but at least he hits a bit harder now. His LD call also gives the party dark enchant, so he's one of the few enchant calls that we have, and he's dark enchant. I don't even think there's a dark orb anytime near in the future. Maybe if you need to go back to Alexander, but even then, I don't know how well that would work out. Xande's kind of a mess. He really didn't get that good of upgrades. I suppose he could be usable in the right team, but he's still kind of, his damage isn't quite up to par as it used to be. What was it, 7 months ago now? His next known rerun is when he gets level 90 alongside Furion getting his LD boards and rework and BT plus. He's still not the greatest at that point, so I mean, whenever you want to grab him, feel free to do so. I personally wouldn't advise grabbing him at any point, really, unless you're stuck on Alexander and you can't do that, but even then you could just grab a Gladio or Gallifriend and cheese it, so Xande's kind of mid. That's my opinion. As for the Lufenia, the orb is to inflict break in its +1, or you need to do dark damage in its +1. So Xande just sitting there and not letting the boss get turns and enchanting the party is pretty much the easy way out of this. They're selling Zell with the rebreak. The orb can actually be kind of tight because it's got an upper limit of 10, but it's possible to just DPS race these guys. Titus is a good idea here. You can no boss turn it with Titus. You know, Terra Young, Sephiroth friend, Sephiroth in the party will mean that you can get a bunch of breaks off. So that's an option as well. There's plenty of stuff you could do here, and it's not nearly as bad, not nearly as mechanic heavy, and they don't have the same unit shutout restrictions that they did previously. Golbez, Toto, you know, we have a lot more characters that are available to this. Noel for the rebreaks, although he's not the greatest at this. Gonna be I ran Noel with this in JP. It was like Noel, Titus, and what was it, Yuna, and then I just swapped Noel out for an X-Death friend and let Titus do the work and just melt the boss. But if you let them get too many turns or you don't keep track of the orb, this fight can eat you alive really quickly. But otherwise, it's kind of you either stomp it or you get steamrolled by it. It's not really in between. If anything, it's just annoying. Oh yeah, Strago, rebreaks, Gabranth. Yeah, we got a lot of options. What are my plans for the banner? I'm skipping personally. I already have Xande, and I'm not interested in using Zell and using him to his full capacity. He's plenty powerful, and people who invest in him will get a lot of good use out of him, definitely. But it's not for me. I have other DPS I want to focus on. And he's not necessarily replaceable. It's just that I wouldn't use him, so that's why I'm pulling. I don't need to make any comparison to justify why I am. It's just I wouldn't use him. I don't know why I'd have to give that criteria, but I mean, there's no consistent rebreakers who can steal turns and have that much turn manipulation like Zell does. He's definitely unique in that regard. He can pump out the numbers, and he will definitely keep up as we ascend into the higher difficulty, but just not for me, not right now. As for the fight, I'm thinking I'm going to run Sephiroth, so I can abuse his BT effect. I might throw Xande right next to him to abuse the weakness damage up, and at that point, maybe I'll bring like a delayer like Cypher or something to drop their defense so I can also hit weakness damage with Xande and then not let the boss get any turns. That should be enough to beat this fight. And that's it. Hope y'all enjoyed the clip and found it informative. I do try my best, generally. If you haven't already done so, please like the video, comment what you think and your plans, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more great content. The full video is linked, so check that out as well. Continue showing love. Good luck, everybody. Peace.